Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the player ranked #1 in the world by Dark. In the blue, the final boss. It's Dark. Up against a Terran I haven't been able to introduce in far too long. In the red, we have Bunny. A best-of-3 Terran versus Zerg showdown. With Bunny a chance to prove himself for the first time in a while. Dark an obligation to prove him wrong. And you, an opportunity to prove to the algorithm that you've already smashed that like button and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? No, nobody cares about the first Reaper. 1,548 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one, and I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a little bit better than the Queen's getting bounced out of the way rudely by the first Reaper as Dark. He did end up losing a drone to said Reaper, but he came right back down and slapped down the third base. And Zerglings have already slipped by the least committed of Zerg rushes, but a Zerg rush, more like a Zerg power walk. But I digress. Metabolic boost isn't quite done, but the Zerglings have already arrived, and the Marine's stuck in the corner. Bunny trying to take his second gas on the low ground. Usually a bit more efficient right up until the Zerglings are here to murder your SCVs. So one Hellion will pop out. A Zergling gets into the main base and confirms what he probably already knew, but rarely you get an opportunity to see directly. He sees the third command center's done. The starport, or third command center's almost completed. Starport is already done, and several Zerglings get away with murder. So now he knows for a fact he's up against, well, pretty much the same build every Terran has done for the last 15 years. The 1-1-1. I've heard it in a fever dream, the Destiny Cloud Fist build. Not sure where that's from, but Hellions and a Liberator. The cheapest possible option, in all senses of the word, in order to get potentially game-ending damage done. Now, Zerg players have contracted out and come up with a clever strategy for dealing with this early harassment. And that answer is Queens. All right? Whether it's economy, creep spread, anti-air, anti-ground, anti-Terran sentiment, it's Queens. So, with Queens on the way, and the Hellions already known, it comes down to whether Bunny is willing to commit. So, he already knows he's in an awkward spot. He's down a dozen workers. All he has is Reaper Hellion and that one Liberator. The threat of the Hellions should keep Dark, a little bit in check, but, well, I'm not sure I'm confident committing to that statement. Single Spore Crawler, the Queens, politely yet firmly, asking the Liberator to leave, and he just runs by. Dark relying on the threat of the Queens and Lings as opposed to their actual existence. 7 drones dead. He didn't build any more Zerglings. In fact, they're trying to run away, but they get incinerated in the process. The Spore Crawler's out of position. And he's just liberating the mineral line. Dark not paying any attention. The drones huddled in their safety zone with Evo Chamber zoning out, but 15 kills. The Spore Crawler repositions. It is a disaster for Dark. The Queens getting burnt to a crisp. A couple will survive, but they didn't have enough energy for transfuse. Yes, we did, but nobody wanted to transfuse Karen. Susan, don't say that out loud. Now we have liability. Have you not heard of insurance? Sorry. I blacked out for a moment. Liberator proving that it does indeed have an anti-air attack that does marginally more than emotional damage to the Overlord. Unfortunately, the Overlord is only capable of suffering emotional damage, being the Zerg equivalent of an overripe tomato with, I'm not even sure, I guess it has eyes. And so do we, and we had to watch that, so not always a good day for it. Baneling Nest on the way. Dark, 66 drones. He's building 8 Overlords at a time. He was actually supply blocked off that one. He's got 1-1 on the way. Bunny building up a lot of space created. In fact, he got home with the Liberator. A single Liberator. 10 kills, and he got away with it. The SCV's even repairing. Wow. Yeah, well, that doesn't seem that complicated. The amount of Terrans who don't repair their... They don't use, some might say abuse, the fact that they can actually repair their units and heal them is too damn high. All right, all the way from here to Clem, which is only a handful of players and kind of an exponential curve. But Bunny now has siege tanks and the medevac, the creep already extending up to the high ground, delaying the collapse of the Zerg rocks down the center. But here come the siege tanks, slapped down, counterattack as Zerglings heading along the north side. The upgrades are finishing. Which ones? Yes, +1 across the board for everything relevant. The Queen's transfusing, Baneling speed still about 30 seconds out. The Zerglings on the wrong hotkey, and Bunny has built the wall to keep the Zerg out because he knows they're not sending their best. Meanwhile, Overlord's going down, Dark trying to close in. The siege tanks still making things very difficult. And enough Hellions. He actually got out with some of the Hellions as well. So the Zerglings are running on top of the Marines, but they'll be slurped up. Another siege tank. The Queens drawn into the fray. Marines drop back. Is there an armory done? Indeed there is. He can go Hellbat mode, but Dark is coming in for another round. Some Banelings, but the door is open! We talked about this! At least I monologue, but that's pretty much how this whole experience goes. The Marines on the run, the medevacs will keep them going, and the counterattack is just not strong enough to deal with it. Dark already has a hive on the way despite all of this. Despite the economic losses, well, he hasn't invested. It's just Zerglings. That's it. It's Zerglings, Banelings, and Queens. The only tech is a spawning pool, a Baneling nest, and an infestation. He's getting burrow. Siege tanks on the other side, making sure the Zerg are caught between a rock and a hard place. With the speed mains on creep, going to be a little harder to engage, but not nearly impossible as Bunny is demonstrating. Meanwhile, huge counterattack gets in on top of the siege tank. Reinforcements coming back. Zerglings streaming through, not really realizing the SCVs are on the run. Meanwhile, Bunny holding the line just barely with the help of the Hellbats as a siege tank continues shelling. 26 kills on that tank and counting. Another siege tank overrun. The SCVs badly bruised by the siege tanks and Zerglings alike. The Queens continue forward. The Natural was gutted. 19 SCVs, 21 SCVs dead. The workers being slaughtered by the dozen, as are the Marines, the Zerglings, the Banelings. And there haven't been enough tanks, so I really didn't have a follow-up on that one. But Ultraless Cavern, Adrenal Glands, Burrow just completed. This is awkward. Doesn't want to make it obvious. I think he's gonna go... Wait, that's not a wall. Oh no! 3 Banelings! You have so much to live for, like dying to do something more productive. The plight of these... There's something intense about Banelings desperately trying to live. That one Marine is keeping him from burrowing them. But he kills it, and that means he might be able to burrow them. Fulfill your purpose! Remember that one time Scarlet did a Baneling mine against Bomber like 12 years ago, and that was the one time that it actually had a major effect? You know, they can be good, but even Sarah has said it's usually not worth the APM to actually control them. It's not like Baneling mines automatically lock on to units, recharge every 30 seconds, and hit air and one-shot most of them. No, you have to manually control. Technically, fun fact, you can auto-cast Unburrow on Banelings, which means they will unburrow the moment a unit walks over them, and that unit is usually a Marauder. Waiting until you get the maximum hit is incredibly important to make them effective, and also very difficult. Now, Dark a lot of the time just uses Burrow to be as annoying as... Speaking of mines... Oh, he pulls the rug out from under him, and under the rug is a mine, which really is a bit of a misnomer. It should be rechargeable missile platform, but I digress. Advertising has always been a strong suit for the Terrans. Like hostile corporate takeovers. But I digress yet again. Regress, maybe. Egress? No. Seagrass? Now we're just completely off track. Ghost Academy on the way. 3-3 infantry weapons and armor. Dark hasn't actually started +3. He's added some Hydras into the composition. 200 Zerglings dead so far. 50 Marines. A brutal game on both sides. Over 9,000 resources lost for Dark. 6,000 something for Bunny. The Ultra Cavern on the way. Hydras, Lings, Banes. Does he already have groovy spawns? Indeed he does. The Widowmine's gonna hit across the board. Lings and Banes streaming through. Marauders all caught in the left flank. Marines will micro back, and the creep spread is not nearly far enough for the Banelings to close in. But the Hydra is very helpful against the Marauders, especially with no medevacs behind. The Hydra DPS is overwhelming, and he's able to break the critical mass of the Terran, but he has to be careful going too far off the creep. Chasing down another group of Marines and Marauders, forces him to pick up. Almost loses the medevac there. Gonna pick off a couple more mines, and where you gonna go? Who you gonna call? The Hydras, Lings, and Banes are indeed... Oh my god, it's a disaster. 2 medevacs full of units, 1 more, and now he's just stuck in the corner. Dark puts Bunny in the corner. The Liberators... Wait, what? Go that way. 172 to 150 supply. And now Bunny is angling for a fusion core. No, advanced ballistics and Caduceus reactor, both incredibly good upgrades to have. The Liberators looking for an opportunity, but Sporchards as well as Queens gonna combine to shut them down. What a game. Just a brawl so far. You don't see too many where it goes straight into the mid-game and stays there. But so far, neither player really working on that end-game tech. They're slowly working there. But no Vipers or Lurkers or Ultras for Dark. No Ghosts, and really not any huge amount of Liberators for Bunny. The Lings and Banes coming in from both sides. The Widowmine, though, again, rug pulls it. And the blood scattered across the field for both sides. Bunny, more Widowmines. Pretty sparse on his upgrades overall, whereas Dark, well, everything and its mother has a speed upgrade. Well, I guess its mother would be Queens, and the Queen's speed upgrade is Creep itself. Just a speed upgrade for pretty much all Zerg. That aren't flying, I guess, but I digress. Stop digressing! I apologize. And digress again. Widowmines at the gold base. He splits off just enough. Well, okay. Looks like he didn't want to play Minecraft today. I mean, you gotta be in the mood for it, I feel, sometimes. One of my top 3 crafts. Four ghosts at a time. Things slow down a bit as both players take the gold base. The snipes! One Hydra obliterated. The armor-piercing bullet from the ghost. So large, it just takes out a Hydra. Oh my god. The Zerglings scattered by the Widowmines. Dark, 320 Zerglings dead. And counting. A few of the changelings out there. What is he even sniping? Was that a... Did he just snipe a Zergling? Can never be too careful. Just throws a contaminate on the factory. Buddy lost so many depots, he's hard supply blocked. And I think a Baneling mine just hit in there as well. Down to 168, lunges forward to take out... You can contaminate a flying command center, why not? Doesn't really stop it from doing anything but building more SCVs, but still. Now that's a certain... Today I learned. It also doesn't stop it from landing or lifting. It's literally only SCV production. So I see that as a power move. It's not necessarily that... Oh, some Zerglings burrowed in the mineral line. Dark now starting to open up quite a lead. It was a bit touch and go, but now that he's secured Hive Tech in half the map, he's the one touching and Bunny's the one going. Hydras and Lings. He still has that Ultra Cavern. No other tech, no Lurker Den, no Vipers. He hasn't upgraded anything out of the Ultra Cavern either. The creep spread has slowed down just a bit. Just opening up the rocks, Bunny. Trying to turtle up to the ghost, but I have a feeling Dark is not going to let that happen. Oh, and he mined through the minerals, which means technically this is a ground path, though it's a asphyxiating choke point here. As Dark working through another set of rocks, the archaeological expeditions will continue until morale improves. Oh, we run out of rocks. Sorry, Dustin. Well, it appears Buddy is very ready. Don't hit the rock. Oh my god. Okay. Well, only lost a couple to the rocks. Bunny is very ready for the late game, though. Nuclear missile, 4 liberators, and building armor. That is just, well, it doesn't get much more late game than that. Though he is still missing Caduceus reactor. That Widow Mine, 9 kills. 400 Zerglings. This feels like one of those games we might be looking at 4 digits by the end. The way Dark is playing. Oh, the Infestor's on the low ground, but the EMP slaps it down. The Ghost leading the charge. Venn diagram of freedom from the Liberators. They do have advanced ballistics completed. And a Fungal, comes up a little short. More Liberators taken down. The Ghosts are able to micro back, and the Banelings just evaporate. But Dark, just 122 Zerglings, 21, and a huge Fungal just when there's no Banelings to follow it up. He pretty much healed everything by the time. Fun fact, Medivacs heal at the same rate Fungal does damage. Isn't that neat? Ever since it was nerfed to 25. Or is it 20 now? Cyril, how many Well, the Overseer's overhead, making it hard to tell exactly what's going down underneath. The Liberator's still taking pot shots at everything. No ship weapons upgrades. The Hydra, though, getting driven back. The Liberator's unloading everything they have. But there's simply so many Lings and Banes, he just keeps getting damage done. 560 Zerglings now. The Infestors underneath. Scans. How many? So, Money doesn't have that orbital bank, that iron bank of orbitals that allows you to just scan the whole map for free. He only has 4 going on 5. He doesn't well, he's not at 200 supply. Most of this commentary, the like filler commentary for when we're turtling in TVZ, does not apply because Bunny is one mediocre fight away from death. Dark can continue this level of aggression for at least 4 or 5 more minutes before he starts mining out of his secondary round of bases. The main and natural are gone, but he has like 4 more mining right now, and he's making full use of them. So has to be a bit careful not to continually attack into Planetaries, Liberators, and Widow Mines and not getting anything really to show for it. Venn Diascan reveals the Infestors underneath. No other late game tech. It's just gonna be a brawl. The Liberators, though. We saw some Vipers in production. I think they're gathering energy at the moment as he just Lings and Banes rolling through. The Marauders forming a biological wall to shield the Planetary. So he ended up pulling back. Dark. It's like, well, fine. I won't continue banging my head against the wall. Builds a Nidus network. Nuclear launch detected. Down the center. Smart move. Where even is the Ghost? Nice angle on that one. The fact that I can tell where the Ghost... Oh, he noticed. Dark, of course, noticed. Buddy wasn't paying attention to his medevacs. Nuclear missile will land and kill Larva and make one Hydra very upset. Hatcheries take it out. The Broodlings chasing that one SCV. Zerglings in the natural. Gonna take down all the supply depots, the fusion core. He never got Caduceus reactor for medevac energy regen, which in my opinion is a massive oversight at this stage, and continually so as time goes on. Good scan, finds all the Zerglings, Widowmine cleared up, Overseers across the board, another 60 Lings refilled the supply. Dark currently has 9 hatcheries, including the hive back at home. How many queens? 6 of them kind of running around trying to do, well, pretty much everything. They wear many hats, yet none at all. The Liberator count, 14 against 120 Zerglings. Did you know Widowmine's one-shot infestors? Isn't that neat? By the way, that's Dark's hatchery. I didn't even register it. That's not supposed to be there. Scanning for Overlords. He's actually taken him out. I wonder if Bunny remembers his command center in the corner. Another Widowmine connects. What are we at? 734 Lings. And 66 Banes. And that's just the Banelings that attack, not the ones that, those are the Banelings that are lost to enemy damage, not the ones that attack. Because those aren't lost, those succeeded. Which has always been a quirk of, they show up in the unit, the resources lost, but not the actual units lost count. Though, ideally, all your banelings are actually killed by enemy damage. Or the majority of them, because that way you've wasted as much DPS from them as possible. But Dark getting a Spire. Despite everything, Dark only has 300 gas in the bank. Yes, his income, not just compounding interest, but just compounding Zerg. Almost all of that advantage is in minerals, though. Dark now realizing it. 3 extractors on the way. Right now, Bunny is trying to play tower defense. He doesn't really have the... Oh, the Viper just knocked out of the sky. Gets a parasitic bomb that will annoy one Liberator. But he doesn't really have the economy. The problem is, when you want to play this style, ideally, you just went straight to it. Now, I might not be a fan of Terrans who sit there, Spirit, and decide their entire strategy is to build up to 200 supply and make it impossible to kill them. But that's how you do it. The problem here for Bunny is he's already lost so much. He's within range. In fact, he's lost more gas and not too many less minerals. Dark has battled him on the field and claimed the majority of it. He's rebuilding the fusion core, I think, for Caduceus Reactor, and you know, small chance of battle cruisers. There's Neural Parasite, 20 Liberators. How many Vipers? Just the one. 140 Zerglings. Just running around throughout the field. I want him to Neural Parasite and start building a command center. It takes about 10 Neural Parasites in a row to finish a command center. Worth it. Now, of course, you also have to keep them from stopping you in between all those. Doesn't matter. Worth it. Hashtag value. Well, the lines are drawn, but Dark seems to have claimed more than his half of things. The Scorcher at the front. The Queens obliterated. Meanwhile, here comes Dark, trying to hit where the army is thinnest, and finds an opportunity. The Hydras... Bunny has not gotten any mech upgrades at all. The Hydras get behind the Liberators. We'll take the majority of them out. Dark plummets to 125 supply. And now he fills in 15 Corruptors, 68 Zerglings. And, well, he still has some larvae. But he takes out the base with 29 SCVs alongside it. This is still happening. Dark is mining gas from the 6 o'clock now. I appreciate that. Bunny realized he lost a fusion core and he wanted Caduceus Reactor, so he rebuilt it. Honestly, at this stage, it's probably still worth it. But I gotta give some credit where it's due. Realizing he's missing that upgrade and valuing it. Oh, Dark has a Congress of Corruptors with the Vipers down here. Ready to wipe everything out of the sky with Oversight behind. The Zerglings fumble from the low ground. The EMP's way too late. The Banelings closing in. Almost no one will survive this as Dark runs over the field. Dozens more Zerglings on the way. Viper's pretty much out of energy. Still some siege tanks. The army supply for Bunny is still kind of crazy high because he has so few SCVs and the orbital command creating a ridiculous choke point. The Corruptors knocking down more of the Liberators. But well, if he had any ship weapons upgrades, the Liberators themselves might be able to get the job done, but... Dark. How many? 922 Zerglings. There are still 4 middles on the field. Bunny's down literally 100 supply. It's not looking great. But I'm trying, well, the thing is, Dark is also broke. So, one incredibly bad fight. And yes, it's going to have to be very, very bad. And we could be looking at a war of attrition. Like, really bad, though. Like, went AFK after A moving through the mineral patches into... It's hard to imagine such a fight. Well, we'll see if those nightmares become reality. There's still siege tanks and liberators. The porcupine Terran. He never really was able to stabilize on that full turtle. He didn't harden his shell in time. I guess some credit to Bunny, but he's probably regretting playing such an active style for so long. Because eventually Dark won that battle. And there's just not enough to fall back to. As the caustic spray melts the planetary fortress, opening up another angle of attack. Was that the last planetary? Indeed it was. He has to spend scans to clear creep away from what should have been like a fourth base for him. The Hydras and Lings. Just want to see 1,000 Zerglings. God. There's still 7 Liberators. 1 Viper. Parasitic Bomb still going to be very helpful there. Oh, there's still a planetary over here. But Dark is mining from that top left base. Is it time? Well, he's banking up now. A few minutes without any direct confrontation has allowed Dark once again, despite the small Mule Valley in the center. Oh, didn't quite interrupt the snipe. Here comes Dark. Lings and Banes crashing in. The Infestor's stuck behind the Hydras, but it's not gonna matter. The second fusion core will be taken out. Another wave. Bunny gets caught. Another round. The Liberators trying their best, but they can't fire fast enough. Microbial Shroud! I don't think it really... Well, it helps the Hydras. Microbial Shroud against the Liberators. GG! Dark. Exactly 1,000 Zerglings lost. Obviously not built. 126 Banes. Exactly 1,000 Zerglings later. A number so round that it won't make any sense on the thumbnail and it'll look like clickbait, but... Bunny falls. He was able to hold with him. But... Dark handled the pressure. Honestly, I think it was just disrespectful out of Dark. Not building Lings, just expecting him not to run by with the Hellions. That was... If that was Clem, Dark loses the game to the first push, probably. Of course, thankfully, for those of us who like competitive gameplay, not everyone is Clem. But fortunately, for those of us who like competitive gameplay, Clem plays in almost every tournament, besides the ones that we managed to sneak in while he's sleeping, usually held in Korea. So, Dark overruns Bunny in game 1. Wasn't easy, it wasn't quick, but it was a decisive victory for the Swarm. Now, we're on El Dorado, another map that has a tendency to trend towards later game. I say that almost every time, and I feel like I'm proven wrong much of that same time. It's actually not. I'm lying right now. I apologize. Because even though there's all these mineral walls and kind of weird terrain, what ends up happening is, unless they choose to go completely different directions, like if Bunny decides to take the low ground area, well, if Bunny takes the low ground and Dark does not, then Bunny does a siege tank push from the low ground. If they both take the low ground, it's just a massive Roach Ravager versus Marine tank battle, usually. The scenario in which this becomes a kind of a turtle game is if Bunny expands north and Dark expands south. That is the scenario that is most likely to result in a much longer terms and game. And that's why the map is so interesting. And I think different sort of maps have always been sources for the most entertaining games. It's just players Since you can't use the same build, you use 95% of the games on the ladder. On it. Because it is different. Pro players don't like it. Alright? Anything that makes it harder to practice for. Now, you might argue about, like, isn't that part of the strategy game? Honestly, StarCraft 2 is a bit more like training to run a marathon than it is a strategy game. Alright? You gotta keep the speed up over a ridiculous amount of time. And I don't think it's so much the strategy, but the technique that matters. Now, of course, I'm also, both when it comes to pro play in StarCraft 2 and marathons, talking out of my ass. Shaped weirdly like a mouth. See more on Dronely fans. We're not getting into this. Like and subscribe. But what am I saying? That's a good question. But the real-time portion of strategy is doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to StarCraft 2, for better or worse. Always incredibly impressive, but sometimes can end up a little stale. This is all rolling around to me saying this map breaks up that monotony a bit and allows us to see things that are usually a little bit different and arguably a little bit better. So. Reaper coming in. Queen. Drawn away. The Zerglings will have to deal with it. This is a message from the Hatchery Owners Association. Young man, this is private property, all right? And we're not talking about the ranking. We're talking about getting off my lawn. Susan. I got the joke. It was funny. I feel like you're not really appreciating the pun I was making there. You know, it really takes a lot of the excitement out of it when you explain it. Well, you... Sorry. I blacked out and got into, like, one of those dreams where you have really awkward conversations, but thankfully you didn't say any of those things out loud. And therefore, you only get, like, imaginary embarrassment, not embarrassment like saying a bunch of dumb stuff to thousands of people on a daily basis, because that would be potentially soul-crushing. But I digress. The Hellions again! Trying to dive by. No Zergling speed as Dark went for the quick 3-hatch. But even without Ling speed, the Queens... Yeah, there are enough. How many? 2 drones in total. So definitely not critical damage. Dark has taken that low ground and is now working the creep across. Where does Bunny head with his 3rd command center? To the north. Well. It appears we have a macro game. Both players, double Evo, double engineering bay, almost to the second. Liberator trying to sneak in. The Spore Crawler, not the most active of responses. The Queens, get off to the side. The Liberator will be able to unsiege, believe it or not, faster than a Spore. The Hellions running by into the 3rd, incinerating the drone, tried for the Evo. Another one, it ain't gonna happen. 7 drones dead, not again. The damage coming hot and heavy. Looks like the Liberator ended up going down to the Spore Crawler. Bit of a mistake there from Bunny. Spore Crawlers not the most agile creatures. Though not the least agile creatures. So. Definitely on the lower end. Probably couldn't run a marathon. Deja vu. I've just been in this base before. Roasting all the drones while the Queens angrily try to do some damage, but it's really just not enough. Wow, that's a lot of drones. Again! Dark gets too greedy, and again, Dark gets roasted. Finally, some roaches coming out. The citizen's arrest. We'll do it ourselves. 15 it happened again. So the difference is, this time Dark already has the gold base mining, and he killed all the Hellions and the... Oh my god, the Evo chamber finished. Oh. He already has the gold base mining, and he killed all the Hellions, as well as the Liberator. So not as devastating. In fact, significantly less so. I'd probably put it at like 36.8%. Repeating, of course. Less devastating. But still, qualifying is devastating. Should bounce back quickly. How's the economy? How's the production? Has a hive on the way at 7 minutes. Roaches. Roach speed. Hydra range. Zergling speed. 1-1 on the way. Bunny. Adding +1 infantry weapons and armor. As he double drops down to the south. Adds his second factory. More siege tanks. Combat shield as well. The Marines clearing. But now, going for the Queen. Guns down too. More Queens. Get off my Queen! Alright, well. That was awkward. Don't know what Buddy expected when he lifted up and headed for the main. Because he just refused to acknowledge that there could be queens or something around there. The roaches chasing by. But the issue now is that, and the reason why this becomes a more drawn-out game, is because Dark has no way to attack on the ground. At least not without going all the way around the north side. He's... Ideally now, he would be sneaking a few drones across to mine through this mineral wall. If he manages to do that and open up a direct attack into the base, well, that makes it a lot easier, but... Another Queen gun down. Medevacs driven away. 3 more barracks. It's gonna be the 8 Rex. Octo Rex. Sounds much cooler. Hydraless Den. Upgrading Hydra speed now, and a Lurker Den right alongside. Bunny. Going to be maxing out rather quickly, but Dark's pretty much already there. He's already got Vipers in production. A whole bunch more Zerglings. The tank push is coming together. Bunny is landing his 4th base, and he has another command center, yes, in the main. So, Dark has mined through... He's got 1 drone tasked with mining through this mineral wall, 1 chunk at a time. But for now, the Hydras will slither through a tiny choke point and kind of constrict themselves that way. No Roach Hydra. The Roaches in position. He's got vision with scan. Takes out a siege tank. Broaching the base pretty well. Meanwhile, the Hydras, another siege tank, as Buddy feeling a little bit like the AI just keeps setting up tanks in exactly the same spot. But the supply depots, Home Depot right now, the greatest defense, and then he just lowers it, which, interesting choice, doesn't want it used against him, I guess. Oh, the medevacs, no, Buddy! Oh, no! A humanitarian disaster, which is always good for the Zerg, but he actually executed quite a strong defense. And then he flew to at least partially full medevacs into the Hydras. And it's hard not to think of that as a select all army hotkey blunder. Oh no. The Vipers at full energy. The siege tank count. 8 tanks. He loads up a triple drop. The tanks are where the Vipers. You cannot engage that many siege tanks. Hydra lunge is done. He's actually just trying to work with the concave. Here come the drones on the attack as well. That Bolt Reaper, he plays it off like it was intentional. Blinding clouds on the front line, but the siege tanks just shelling from the back. Getting so much damage done, and the Hydras are just evaporating. Almost all the Marines, but also all the Lings are taken out, and Bunny is marching forward. He's got 2 tanks and a dozen Marines at a time, and the siege tanks are now... Well, thankfully for Dark, he took down all of the minerals in the center. This could be a very difficult position to dislodge. But he went far too deep and too greedily. And now, The age of man has begun. The Terrans have turned it around. Now, Bunny, a little timid here, not realizing how much of an advantage he has. If he knew the supply right now, he'd just be going. But the lurkers on the field, he has both lurker upgrades, range, and burrow speed already completed. How many Vipers? Just the one. Lunges forward, gets a tank, but eats a whole bunch of hits. Dark down 30 supply as Bunny leapfrogging or Bunny hopping forward. The Viper yanks in the tank. Slowly but surely dismantling this, but so many hits. Meanwhile, to the high ground, just a couple of Hydras. The lurkers are going to be much harder to deal with. Bunny has been rallying everything. The siege will continue. Lurkers taken out. 3-3 on the way for both sides. Dark will have an advantage. Blinding Cloud hits 2, maybe 3 tanks. As the lurkers scatter throughout. Both sides, a no man's land. No Zerg's land either, down the center. But Bunny's supply, he lost 23 SCVs, Bunny! Clearly struggling. That single lurker, well, that one wasn't the main offender, but losing 23 SCVs and all of the, oh no! The push has been going so well, but everything else has been going towards Dark. Oh no. That one tiny counterattack, relatively, keeping Dark in the game. Because otherwise, this is a GG of siege tanks. But with that one Viper as well, yanks in yet another tank as it tries to siege, gets both. There's some ghosts on the way now. The siege tanks are continuing forward. 3-3 is closing in infantry, weapons, and armor, and Dark still not. It's 168 to 166 supply. So dangerously close to even, which does not favor the Zerg. 3-3 now done. The gold base may finally get taken out. Dark is long distance. I think just a remnant of when this base was actually mining for him. How many tanks? Of all the tanks to have ducked, then again, it was further back, but the lurkers try to move forward to the north side, but what a brawl! Yet again, these two just going at it. A little bit later in the tech tree, but a back and forth nonetheless. Dark has lost 6,000 more resources, including 3,000 more gas nearly. But he's starting to stabilize. That one counterattack did so much to keep him going. Keeping Bunny's economy in check and making it so he can't just focus. He's splitting off the very minimum. A single lurker. That planetary hasn't actually been repaired. Another. Oh, finally takes out the Viper, but another siege tank yanked in. The lurker dodging liberators. Burrows down. Still in scan range though, so the siege tanks just deal with it. There's another lurker waiting for its opportunity. Some Zerglings will counterattack, but Bunny keeps the pressure on yet again. The lurker line. Oh, I'd be getting a little hasty here. As the Hydras from the north side, if the tanks are on their own, he can just spread and oh yeah, he sees the opportunity and he pounces on it. The siege tank count cut down to 2, but the Liberators already pre-sieged. The lurkers will have to run, eating a lot of Liberator hits on the way out. And Bunny yet again turns it around. The Liberators continue to siege forward. Bunny hopping in the sky. And that Spore Crawler taken down, which opens up the opportunity to continue to work with this angle. A single lurker, again, trying to do something on the other side of the map, keeping him busy. And Bunny lining up the shots and knocking the lurkers out of the ground. Dark down 40 supply, and most of it is army. That one lurker helping out, but it appears Bunny has been able to stabilize, and all he has to do is continue this push through to the rest of the production. He takes out both hatcheries. Dark still has a 20 worker advantage, and he has the base to the top left and down the center. But Bunny despite the struggle back home, has been able to push through all of the defenses, as there's just no answer here. Without... Well, really, the answer is either a huge amount of units, overwhelming Vipers, or maybe Infestor Broodlord. There's no easy way... A gang of Hydras makes its way up to the high ground. A single lurker as well. Dark scampering in yet again. But he drops the main base with Liberators to cover the ramp. What is happening? We're going into a full-on base trade. Well, it's not a base trade if you lose your base and don't take any of theirs. What is this? Are you building an orbital there? Why not? The lurkers on the other side. The hive will be cut down. The vast majority of Bunny's army is on the other side of the map. But there's still some Liberators and tanks at home. Down goes the orbital command. That lurker's still getting a lot of damage. He's lining up so much. And the SCV, Buddy, what are you doing? Buddy loses 24 SCVs because he decides he's just going to impale himself on the spikes. And he's stalled out. The tech is bleeding out in the main, but Dark can still produce. Dark is dragging him down into the mud and beating him with experience right now. The supplies have flipped. Dark is holding. He still has production. He still has economy. It's 65 to 22 workers. Another lurker. He's about to kill the planetary. There's lurkers on the high ground. Oh no, Buddy! Falling apart. He's down to 18 SCVs. We've seen this story before. Trying to extract himself from the where are you going? He has like 12 ghosts in there. Do not. Oh my. The lurkers outmaneuvering the Liberators in a kind of a rhyming action. He doesn't have enough minerals. He stopped repairing because he ran out of minerals. He has no minerals to repair the planetary. Finally, the Liberators take things out. You have to be... He's just losing his ghosts. Oh, Buddy, what have you done? Buddy just picks up the game and throws it at the wall. Oh no, he couldn't handle the pressure. Dark wins 2-0. But oh no, Buddy. Buddy strategically had every advantage. He had a comparable economy, he had a better unit composition, he had map control with an army that just straight up wins against what Dark had. He had more army supply. But then Dark slithered away. And the three-headed Hydra just kept cropping up. Ah, Buddy. Well, what I wanted was a game 3. I'm upset because of that. And I hope you are as well. All right, we're not even going to do a bonus game. I was debating a bonus game, which sometimes we have some games lined up for that in order to not be a spoiler, but I feel like the end of this game is a non-spoiler in and of itself because I'm too upset. All right? So maybe come back next time for whatever. It was a good one too. It was dark. Of course, I'm sure we'll find another opportunity. Buddy. So Bunny's still showing that he's up there. He's always been very good at timing attacks. That's his thing. Unfortunately, once that time passes, it does not age well. Wow. A disaster. Looking like my latter games there. Definitely higher level, but every Terran feels like that. And then they watch Clem, they're like, Clem, how dare you? Therefore, we should nerf Zerg. So, Dark wins 2-0. Despite Bunny's best effort. Where was I? Oh yeah, we're wrapping it up. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, our YouTube membership, and thank you to our Mule Tier patrons for bringing in the extra minerals. My Big Jiggy Dorke, Mario N. If you haven't yet checked out the second channel, Winter Gaming TV, you can find even more content. I'm thinking about some new Bronze League heroes. Oh, you made it to the end. Okay, people asking about Bronze League heroes. The very simple answer is we're not getting very many games, and almost all of them are Terran versus Terran, where nothing happens and then 25 minutes in, somebody jumps a bunch of battle cruisers. Which, you know, historically accurate when it comes to Bronze League heroes, but... and also YouTube does not promote them as well. They don't get as many views despite everybody wanting to watch them. So maybe we'll try putting him on the second channel, see what happens. But I digress. I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.